Kevin Gordon here from Autosavant.com with a very quick take of the 2012 Chevrolet Corvette Grand Sport. This car is a base Corvette with the wide body kit, a hand-built version of the small block Chevy that makes the same horsepower as the standard car, but with the manual transmission you get dry sump oiling. This car also has the fully upgraded interior package. You actually get leather and all here. It's 10 grand. It has the magnetic ride control selectable ride suspension in it, so you get touring and sport, 2 modes, as well as the dual mode exhaust system, which has a set of butterfly valves in the exhaust. You can open them up and it makes a lot more noise. The little trick is there's a little fuse in the floor panel that if you just pull it out, it leaves them open all the time, and that's how we have it. So you notice I'm sitting here stopped because I've got the Targa roof off, because I think that's one of those things about a Corvette that at least I always forget, is you get a built-in removable top that goes right back in the storage area and actually is a pretty convenient thing to take off and stow. So we'll get started up here. And the thing just does sound good. Off we go. The top off, you do get some wind buffeting in here, but really it's not too bad. The only real issue with the top removed is right here where the attachment point is. It seems like a whole bunch of air comes over and hits that as a pretty good wall, so you get a lot of noise from that area. Otherwise, you know, this version of the Corvette is built to have the top removed. The one thing that's somewhat special about this one, despite being the Grand Sport model, is it is the 60th year of the Corvette, so you get a bunch of 60 logos in the steering wheel and in the wheels. You know, center of the wheel hubs up the 60 mark as well. So this is, in all likelihood, really the last year of the Corvette. In 2014, it should be replaced with a completely new model. And so there's a lot of special editions and versions that are starting to come out in order to keep sales going. But actually, the Corvette's been selling quite well, even though it's getting to be at the end of its life. And as you start to spend time with one of them, you can see why it's still selling well. I mean, sure, the interior here is pretty low rent for a car that's $70,000, but it's better than it used to be. I mean, let's face it, it's just making excuses for it when you say things like it's better than it used to be, but it's livable. Let's put it that way. I honestly think that you could have a Corvette as a daily driver and ultimately not hate yourself for it. One, it probably gets the best fuel economy. You know, you go put it in 6th gear, which we're going 30 miles an hour. It'll roll along in 6th gear at about 700 RPM. In fact, it'll pick up speed naturally at idle. And, you know, on the highway, the thing gets 26 or 27 miles to the gallon, so it's really not that bad from that perspective. Visibility out isn't perfect, but not terrible. I mean, there's, in this category of performance of car, there's a lot of things that are tougher to see out of than this. With the magnetic ride, it doesn't beat the hell out of you from a suspension tuning perspective. I mean, if you get the same body width that this one has in, say, a Z06, it really is a lot stiffer than this is and tougher to deal with. The one thing the Corvette has going for it is lightweight. Oh, really, I mean, it's just miraculous what GM has managed to do with the small block pushrod V8 that are in these things. Even this one, which I might get it wrong, but it's rated like 436 horsepower. It just feels like a monster. It pulls from any gear, and somehow they've made the small block Chevy really rev happy. I mean, it's got a pretty continuous line of growth in both power and torque, which drive some of the older versions of the same engine, you sort of got to about 3,500, and that was about all it had. It continued to rev, but it didn't feel like it continued to shove you the way this thing does. from a chassis perspective, you can see that this platform is getting to be a little bit older and is starting to suffer, in comparison with a brand new car. If you look at the little hood gap that runs right here compared to the front quarter panel, you can see that gap actually opening and closing as you start to move it over some broken surfaces. So like there, as you ride over some railroad tracks, you do get a little bit of cowl shake, and there's a couple of creaks in here. You can tell that the platform of this is definitely reached the end of its life. The other thing to note about this particular version of the Corvette is when you talk about its at-limit handling. So a Corvette doesn't have a very large moment of inertia. So the amount of energy it's going to take to make it spin around. And I've had the chance to drive a similar car to this one on the track, and it probably is the most friendly of the Corvettes to drive in pure anger. If you get into a ZR1 or a Z06, the ZR1's better because of all the tricks of that version's magnetic ride. But a Z06 is, if you're not a good driver, it's likely to turn you around backwards and put you into a bush somewhere. This car still, if you turn all the nannies off, you can get yourself into trouble pretty quickly. But with the wider stance of this one and the Goodyear F1s that are on it, you can get some tail-out action without really risking your life at every turn. So at $70,000, which is nowhere near a small amount of money, how do you value the Corvette? Well, what I'd say is, this one particularly, because it's the Grand Sport and has the wide body kit on it, does look more special than a regular Corvette. This particular one's got big gray stripes on it, which I could probably deal without, but racing stripes are racing stripes. But for something that's got a base price of $54,000, there just isn't anything else for the dollar that can shove you into the seat the way one of these can. The other thing is that dual mode exhaust for $1,100 or $1,200 or whatever it is worth every penny. Something that you can turn into something far more civilized, but still make as much noise as this does. You get good burble, you get off the throttle. It really is a nice feature. And because of the magnetic ride, it lays down nice big black stripes with absolutely minimum drama. So I think the question winds up being is, knowing that there's a completely new model that's going to be out in about a year's time, maybe a little bit more, should you still be considering this as a car? Well, I think that comes down to your timetable. There's no real predicting. Everybody has their guesses about what's going to go on with the next generation Corvette. Most likely it's going to be an evolution, not a revolution. And this thing still just knows how to get up and go. It really is the American supercar. And I know that it seems overly positive and optimistic to say that, but it's just the way this thing can shove power to the ground. It's just got so much grip. It's not so much the horsepower, actually. It's just the grip. And I'm Kevin Gordon from AutoSavant.com, and I look forward to talking to you guys soon.